of Pakistan. The decision of the government of India to violate Pakistani airspace and to carry out airstrikes on Pakistani soil represents a major shift in India's policy in countering Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. This is the first time since the 1971 liberation of Bangladesh war that the Indian Air Force has violated Pakistani airspace and conducted airstrikes on Pakistani soil. Even though the IAF played a very important role during the Kargil conflict of 1999, it was clearly instructed by the Vajpayee government not to cross over the line of control during the Kargil war. So yesterday's airstrikes represents a major escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan, and we have multiple articles in today's newspaper related to this development. So let's have an elaborate discussion on this topic, and we shall try to separate the facts from the various unsubstantiated reports which are flying around. So as a part of this discussion, we shall talk about the official statement from the government of India. We shall talk about the targets of the airstrikes, and we shall also discuss the tactical details of the operation. Then we shall look at Pakistan's response to the airstrikes carried out by the Indian Air Force, and we will evaluate the possible scenarios which might play out in the coming few days. And finally, we shall talk about the global reaction to India's airstrikes against Pakistan. On the 14th of Feb, the Jaish-e-Mohammed claimed a Fidain strike at Pulwama against a CRPF convoy which led to more than 40 casualties. And in the aftermath of the Pulwama terror attack, India had promised to retaliate against Pakistan for its role in sponsoring terrorist outfits such as Jaish-e-Mohammed against India. So over the last 2 weeks, a series of steps have been taken by the Indian government, which includes coercive diplomatic steps to bring international pressure on Pakistan. We have covered these developments over the last 2 weeks, and the Indian government was also considering military options in order to retaliate against Pakistan. And yesterday, the Indian Air Force has conducted airstrikes at Balkot, where the largest training camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed was located. And within hours of these reports, the Indian Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vijay Gokhale, held a press conference and issued an official statement on behalf of the government of India. He said that based on credible intelligence, that the Indian Air Force has carried out airstrikes at Balkot in order to target the largest terror camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was training hundreds of Fidain jihadis to carry out acts of terrorism against India. And these intelligence reports indicated an imminent threat against India, and hence India reserved the right of preemptive action, and the Foreign Secretary has carefully labelled the airstrikes as a non-military preemptive action. So according to India, the intention of the airstrikes was to counter terrorism which was posing an imminent threat to India's national security. Through such a carefully worded statement, India has tried to send a message across to both Pakistan and as well as to the international community. The statements made by the Foreign Secretary and the classification of the airstrikes as a non-military preemptive action clearly indicates to Pakistan that India does not wish to escalate the issue further, and this was a counter-terrorist operation in order to deal with an imminent threat against India. It clearly says that India will not tolerate the presence of terror camps on Pakistani soil which frequently target India, and it also conveys to Pakistan that India's response is proportionate and well calibrated. Because the labeling of the airstrikes as a non-military preemptive action shows that India has taken a lot of care to ensure that no damage is caused to Pakistani military or its infrastructure. It shows that India has taken a lot of care to ensure that there is no damage caused to civilians. So the message from India automatically includes a de-escalatory provision as well, and this is designed to reassure the international community that India does not seek further escalation of tensions, and it also puts the ball in Pakistan's court, and right now it is up to Pakistan to decide whether it would wish to continue a escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan. And also, please look at the map which has been given here. This is where Balkot is located. It is clearly located in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan. It is located a good 70 to 80 kilometers across the LOC, and the region in green represents Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This is the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. And yesterday's airstrikes by the Indian Air Force at Balkot represents the second biggest breach of Pakistani air defense since 2011. Because in 2011, American special forces had infiltrated into Pakistani airspace to kill or neutralize Osama bin Laden, who was hiding in Abbottabad, and Balkot, which has been targeted by the Indian Air Force, is located hardly around 60 to 70 kilometers to the north of Abbottabad. Now let's look at the target of yesterday's airstrikes. The Foreign Secretary has confirmed that the Indian Air Force was asked to target the Balkot camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed. This is the largest terror camp of Jaish-e-Mohammed, and it is run by Yusuf Azan. Yusuf Azhar is the brother-in-law of Masood Azhar, who is the founder-in-chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed. And Yusuf Azhar was one of the hijackers of the Indian Airlines IC-814 flight, which was taken to Kandahar. It was during this hijacking that India released Masood Azhar, the founder-in-chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed, in exchange for hostages. And the Indian government has not provided any official damage assessment as of now, but media reports indicate that according to intelligence estimates, there were around 200 to 300 terrorists who were training at this camp. Most of them were being trained in fidayeen attacks or suicide attacks, and most likely a large number of terrorists, trainers and senior commanders have been eliminated by the airstrikes conducted by the Indian Air Force. Now let's look at the tactical details of this operation. The government of India and the Indian Air Force have not shared any details of the operation, but media reports indicate that the Indian Air Force had deployed its most modern assets to carry out this high-risk operation. According to media reports, the Mirage 2000 was given the primary task of striking at the target, and around 12 Mirage 2000 aircrafts had taken off from several air bases located under the Western and Central Air Commands. And at least 5 out of these 12 Mirage 2000 aircrafts managed to penetrate into Pakistani airspace, and they delivered precision laser-guided ammunition against the desired target. And the Mirage 2000 was carrying the Spice 2000 and the Popeye air-to-surface missile. Spice 2000 is essentially a smart ammunition kit which can convert a conventional unguided bomb into a precision-guided bomb. And 2000 here refers to the payload. It refers to 2000 pounds, which is roughly around 1000 kilograms. So according to reports, the Mirage aircraft has dropped around 5 one-ton precision-guided bombs against the target, and the AGM Popeye is an upgraded version of the Spice 2000. Both are precision ammunitions which can be pre-fed with GPS coordinates, and the Mirage 2000 also comes equipped with the Israeli lightning targeting pods, which basically flash a beam of laser against the target, and this laser signature is sought out by the precision guided ammunition, which will further home in on the target and deliver the warhead with great precision and accuracy. And it has also been reported that the Sukhoi 30 MKIs were also deployed in order to counter any Pakistani resistance. They were loitering around in the Indian airspace in order to counter Pakistani air defense and any possible scrambling of F-16s by the Pakistani Air Force. Along with the Sukhoi 30 MKIs, the Indian Air Force had also deployed a couple of airborne early warning and control systems, or AWACS. One was the Israeli Falcon and another one is the indigenous Netra, in order to monitor the activities of Pakistani Air Force across the LOC. And the Indian Air Force had also deployed the Israeli Heron, which is basically an unmanned aerial vehicle for damage assessment, and the Russian IL-78 mid-air refueling aircrafts were also deployed in order to assist the frontline fighter aircrafts. Now let's talk about Pakistan's reaction to the airstrikes. In fact, the first reports about the airstrikes did not come from the government of India or the Indian Air Force. In fact, it came from Pakistan's military spokesperson. The spokesperson of the Pakistani army accepted that the Indian Air Force had violated Pakistani airspace, but Pakistan has clearly denied that any significant damage has been caused by the Indian fighter aircrafts. Such a denial is a part of Pakistan's old tactic to play down the damage which is caused after a major incident. We had witnessed a similar pattern after the surgical strikes in 2016, wherein the Pakistani armed forces denied that the surgical strikes ever took place across the LOC. So right now, we are seeing an attempt by Pakistan to play down the damage which has been caused by the airstrikes. The intention is to reduce the burden of public expectation on the Pakistani armed forces to respond against India, because right now the people in Pakistan, their media and the opposition will be raising questions against the government and the armed forces, and there will be tremendous pressure on the armed forces to respond against India. So in order to scale down the tensions and in order to bring down public expectation, Pakistan would like to play down the damage which could have been caused by the airstrikes. And this is the reason why India believes that there is no scope for further escalation in the tensions. Because right now Pakistan understands the cost of a conventional war with India. Considering Pakistan's economic situation, it clearly cannot afford a sustained full-fledged conflict with India. And also, India's response has been proportionate, it has been well calibrated, and it has clearly said that the airstrikes were a non-military preemptive action against an imminent threat. So India expects that Pakistan might only carry out some symbolic response against India, and most likely it may not result in a serious escalation. But the Pakistani government and the armed forces have already promised to respond to India's aggression. Yesterday, we have already witnessed a major violation of ceasefire along the LOC, and the Pakistani forces are conducting heavy artillery firing and shelling across the LOC, and Prime Minister Imran Khan had even convened the National Command Authority, which oversees Pakistan's nuclear command structure and nuclear weapons. And today morning, we have already received reports of violation of Indian airspace by the Pakistani Air Force, so we can definitely expect some sort of retaliation by Pakistan against India But most likely the escalation will not go beyond a certain point because Pakistan is aware of the cost of a conventional war with India, and Pakistan is well aware that international opinion is currently in favor of India. And moreover, India's target was a non-military target. Essentially, the Indian Air Force has carried out a strike against terror camps which are operating in Pakistan. But if Pakistan looks for similar action or similar response against India, there are no terror camps which operate out of Indian soil. So Pakistan will have only two options. Either it has to target Indian military infrastructure or it has to target Indian civilian population. And both the attacks will definitely constitute a major escalation, and it will invite a proportionate response from India, and hence this can act as a deterrent against any possible major escalation from the Pakistani side. Now let's talk about the escalation matrix which exists in case of a India-Pakistan conflict and the possible threat of breaching the nuclear threshold. When it comes to India-Pakistan tensions, there exists a escalation ladder. This basically refers to a step-by-step increase in the escalation of tensions between the two sides based on the response of the other country. Since many decades, Pakistan has sponsored an asymmetric warfare against India through its proxy elements. This has been a part of Pakistan's strategy of bleeding India to 1,000 cuts, because Pakistan is well aware that India is much more superior when it comes to conventional warfare, and Pakistan, which is aware of India's conventional superiority, has always resorted to a proxy covert war or an asymmetric war in order to bleed and weaken India to 1,000 cuts. That's the reason why it has sponsored multiple terror organizations against India, including the Khalistan outfits and as well as various outfits which are focused on Jammu and Kashmir. In the past, Pakistan has also sponsored a few northeast insurgent groups, but until 1999, India would always reserve the right to respond against Pakistan's proxy warfare against India. But post-99, that is after both the countries acquired and displayed their nuclear weapons, Indian options have been severely restricted because the possession of nuclear weapons by Pakistan provides it with an insurance cover, because Pakistan's nuclear weapons and its nuclear doctrine will always put India at a disadvantage. Pakistan has deliberately kept its nuclear doctrine ambiguous in order to keep the Indian leadership guessing, because on the Indian side, we are not sure as to what will breach Pakistan's red lines and when Pakistan might deploy nuclear weapons against India. And moreover, Pakistan has also developed tactical battlefield nuclear weapons, which brings down the threshold for a nuclear conflict. And in the past, Pakistan has also enjoyed great international support, largely because of its key role in global geopolitics. Generally, countries like United States, China, Saudi Arabia, etc., they have always stayed on the side of Pakistan. And if India ever decided military action against Pakistan, the international pressure would be significant on the Indian government. And these were some of the reasons why India could not respond aggressively against Pakistan in the past. But post-2611, things have started changing, especially with regard to international opinion. Due to India's diplomatic efforts, especially coercive diplomatic efforts, India has managed to isolate Pakistan at the global level. So in 2016, India climbed one step on the escalation ladder by conducting ground-based tactical operations in the form of surgical strikes. Such limited tactical operations have been conducted in the past as well, in order to target terror camps which are located across the line of control. But these operations will only achieve a tactical success, and it cannot achieve any strategic objective for India, because tactical operations cannot prevent state-sponsored terrorism against India. Because asymmetric warfare is a chosen option for Pakistan, and it is a strategy of Pakistan to subvert and weaken India's influence in the region. So yesterday, India has climbed one more step on the escalation ladder by calling for airstrikes. This marks a significant escalation on India's part, and if Pakistan also chooses to climb up the escalation ladder, this will definitely mark a further increase in tensions. This escalation will definitely have the potential to result in the breakout of a full-fledged conventional war between the two sides. And since India enjoys conventional superiority, if India manages to deliver significant damages to Pakistan, then Pakistan might consider breaching the nuclear cap or the nuclear threshold. So we need to see where the red lines exist for both India and Pakistan, and we need to hope that sensibility and maturity will prevail on both the sides, that is both on India and Pakistan, and ensure that these red lines are not breached. And well within the norms of the escalation matrix, India has the right to defend itself and target the terror camps located in Pakistan. And finally, let's talk about the global reaction to the airstrikes conducted by India. Most friendly countries such as United States, Australia, France, and even Russia, they have expressed support for India's right to self-defense, and the European Union and United Kingdom, they have condemned the terror attacks against India and they have sympathized with India's concerns. But all the countries, they have exercised caution, and they are calling upon both India and Pakistan to further exercise restraint in order to prevent a further escalation of tensions between the two countries. But China has been more cautious. China has actually condemned India for taking unilateral action against Pakistan. China has asked India to rely on international diplomacy to bring pressure on Pakistan. So this is where we need to question China's intentions. because China is advocating diplomatic efforts, but on the other hand, it is derailing India's efforts to designate Masood Azhar as a global terrorist under the 1267 Sanctions Committee. So India needs to raise these questions with regard to China. This week, we have a RIC trilateral meeting coming up between the foreign ministers of Russia, India and China, and India should use the platform to question China regarding its intentions in shielding Pakistan. So apart from all the major powers, it is only the OIC, or the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which has criticized India's airstrikes against Pakistan. So India has largely gained international support from major powers across the world, whereas China has been cautious, it has condemned unilateral action, and OIC, where Pakistan is very influential, has openly criticized India's airstrikes. Now let's look at the editorial page. We have an editorial called Pushing Boundaries. This deals with the airstrikes conducted by the Indian Air Force. We have already had an elaborate discussion on this. Next, we have an editorial on the Chagos Islands dispute between Britain and Mauritius. We have covered this topic in detail.